What's good, YouTube? It is your boy Anime Devil Hunter, and today I'll be reviewing Chapter 4 of Choujin X. First and foremost, I want to say I absolutely love this chapter. Like, bro, this chapter was so damn good. This chapter was almost better than Chapter 3, in all honesty. Like, it is neck and neck for me. Chapter 3 was phenomenal. Before I begin the review, I would like to say welcome if you are new to this channel. I cover Choujin X and all sorts of other content. I also make weekly reviews, character explain videos, ability explain videos, and more. So if you want all that fun stuff coming straight to your feed, all you gotta do is hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That simple. Drop a like if you end up enjoying the review, and comment down below your favorite part of the chapter, and if you are enjoying Choujin X, and do you think it's gonna be better than Tokyo Ghoul? That's a hard question. Now let's begin. I first want to talk about the cover page. The cover page looks absolutely awesome. The art looks so amazing and so damn detailed. Got my boy Tokyo sitting alone on top of a high-rise building. You could just tell he's down, like he's really sad. The detail in the building across is crazy. Sui Shada has some really great art. I mean, if you've seen Tokyo Ghoul, you know. We started chapter off with Tokyo thinking about Azuma's words, which was think for yourself for once. Tokyo then realizes Azuma might be right. Tokyo has never really thought for himself. When it came to ordering food, he just usually got what Azuma got. When it came to school electives, he just went with what Azuma went with. Even when it came to going to the gym, Tokyo then goes to admit this whole entire time he's just been copying Azuma. He's always been the vulture that gets the king's scrap. He then goes to remember another time when Azuma non-directly caused him to make a decision. When Azuma took an entrance exam, he decided to take it as well. Despite studying, he still barely passed. Good effort though, at least you tried. Tokyo then goes on to ask himself, has he ever made his own decision even once before? He then says of course Azuma is fed up with him as he talks to the birds. Man, Tokyo is beating himself up bad, but at least he's being honest with himself. You gotta give him props right there. The birds he was feeding all this time tell him to cheer up. Talking so down is gonna ruin the taste of the food. And then they tell him he's been choosing to share his rations with them. Isn't that a free choice of his own will? They then add, you do have the power to make your own choices, no matter how trivial those decisions might be. Tokyo of course freaks out over the fact that the pigeons could talk, which was quite hilarious. The pigeons then reveal to Tokyo that amongst them, Tokyo is known as the bread outlier. I feel like this was one of the things that made the chapter so damn good. Instead of Tokyo being hurt and stuff trying to play victim or deny what Azuma says, he comes to realization with himself that Azuma might be right. Throughout Tokyo's conversation with the birds, there are two female students watching him talk to the pigeons, and I'm pretty sure they're thinking Tokyo is out of his mind. Tokyo then goes on to question if talking to birds are a part of his Choujin powers. The birds then go to let him know that they heard the whole entire story and that they have a question for him. If he were Azuma, what would he do? Tokyo then says, okay, if Azuma had turned to a Choujin instead of him, he learned himself, gather info, learn from others, control his power, practice with it, and better himself so that he can use that power to help people. Tokyo then goes on to say how he can think of so much. If he can be even a little bit just like Azuma, maybe Azuma might see him different. He then goes on to thank the pigeons for their advice, and I love the pigeons' reaction. They just say and best of luck, and the girls are still watching him. Moving on in the next panel, we see several sequences of Tokyo trying to figure out his powers. Change back, body release, and more throughout this segment. He thinks to himself, until you control your own body, you can't go outside. Those were the words of Azuma. Tokyo is absolutely trying his hardest to figure out something. He's on the middle of a rooftop, in the middle of the night, screaming, change back. So even though he can't think like Azuma or really make his own decision, you gotta appreciate the fact that he's trying to change. So props to Tokyo, you got my respect. In the middle of Tokyo trying to control his powers, he gets super hungry and he still eats the same way he did in the previous chapter, lifting his beak up to eat. And shout out to my friend Pirate Hunter Anime, he's always cracking up when he sees that. He then continues to sneak out the house and try to learn to control his Choujin powers. 2 days have passed and Tokyo still hasn't gotten any control of his Choujin powers. Despite screaming release, 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 nothing is happening until he feels a tingle in his neck, more so a shock. He then asks himself if that was a sort of a sign. As he walks through a set of steps through Oba 3rd District, he thinks to himself it'd be nice if he can go back to normal fast. He then says at this rate he'll only get better at shouting. He thinks to himself that he'll need to start going to school again and he's reaching his limit of 104 degrees fever excuse. If they find out he's faking, they'll eventually find out that he's a Choujin, and you know what they're gonna do to him. He then considers the idea of getting advice from the pigeons, but then he realizes he'll only be shifting his reliance from Azuma to the pigeons. He then says no, first he needs to become independent from Azuma, but getting help from the birds is okay, which I agree. He'll get help from birds, whether they're pigeons, pheasants, and right before he finishes that sentence, he thinks back to when Azuma said, I think Choujin turned into the form they most desire. This is when a light bulb goes off in Tokyo's head and he realizes that the zoo might be his answer. He then goes to the Yamato North Zoo. As he walks to the zoo, he thinks of the time when he and Azuma went to the zoo. When Tokyo gets there, he sees a sign that they closed a month ago, and he says he should have visited while he still had the chance. Tokyo then sees a girl and he immediately starts freaking out. He thinks to himself that that's the type of girl he could never talk to. It's okay, Tokyo, we've all been there. She was looking good though, I gotta admit. The girl then talks to Tokyo. She asks if he wants to see if he can climb up the door so he can get inside. Tokyo then thinks to himself that this is the first time in his life that a girl he doesn't know who looks like a model talked to him. He then attempts to cover it or try to hold up his beak and keep it from showing. He says but to the girl and she says what? Tokyo then thinks of the vulture and says he might as well try, and he's not going because of the girl though. As they walk around the abandoned zoo, she asks him what he wants to see. He says the birds. As they walk, Tokyo thinks to himself, I'm in a closed down zoo with a girl. I feel like I'm doing something bad. Tokyo is so damn innocent. As they walk around the zoo, the girl points out all these different animals and says a whole bunch of weird things. Like how a giraffe makes a moo sound, like what? An alligator tastes delicious, okay. Tokyo then goes on to wonder if she's a runaway with her penchant for animals or something. We then get to the reptile corner and she points out a snake. She then goes on to talk about how the snake is on guard and that they sense the air around them with their tongue. She then goes to push Tokyo towards the snake, and Tokyo is literally an inch away from the snake. I would have passed out. The girl then goes on to comment on how he almost got a smooch from a snake. He then goes on to think to himself, why she do that? Is that what girls do? Then he gets mad and says for some reason he kinda like it. It's okay, Tokyo, I won't comment on that, but everybody got their thing. The girl then goes on to whisper to the snake and she lets Tokyo know that the birds are in that direction. Tokyo then goes on to say thank you and the girl says yeah, As they head towards the direction of the birds, Tokyo thinks to himself, oh, guess it was a joke. I messed up the comeback. Why'd I say thank you? She's completely different from the girls at school. I can't hold my own against her at will. If only I were Azuma, I could wow her with witty animal small talk. Tokyo then gets mad at himself over the fact that he's still thinking of Azuma at a time like this. Tokyo then gets mad over the idea that he can't find something to talk about and that he can't even hold his own with the girls at school. They then reach the bird and Tokyo sees a vulture that's still alive. Tokyo then walks over to the vulture and asks him if it remembers him. And that it's been 8 years. Sounds like Tokyo just saw an old friend. The vulture pays him no mind. Tokyo then goes on to say, well, he's pretty sure it's the same vulture. Maybe it doesn't recognize him because he's seen so many people. He attempts to call it again and asks him if it remembers him. The girl pops a smirk. She then asks Tokyo what's he doing. He tells her he thought it might react. The girl then walks towards him and he tells Tokyo that he's kind of adorable. And as she leans into Tokyo, Tokyo thinks to himself she's going to take his first kiss. And in the last panel, we see the girl transform as a snake with Tokyo in his mouth. And that is how we end the chapter. Man, a snake Choujin. That just goes to show you what kind of person she is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thought it was a great chapter. Ishida did say the next chapter is coming soon, so I can't honestly wait. I've been absolutely loving this series. I feel like this has potential to surpass Tokyo Ghoul, in all honesty. But we'll just have to wait and see. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. And it is my birthday, by the way, so if you want to say happy birthday in the comment section, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I appreciate it. Thank you.